Welcome back to the Michigan Football Network. I am Jay Sweet, your host. We are joined by James Gullett. Per the usual, our weekly Wednesday tradition is to come on here at 6 p.m. and talk some ball. So, with that being said, this past weekend was not a great weekend for Michigan football in general, from top to bottom. I know Michigan won, but in ugly fashion, which we will
Did
talk
they?
about. Exactly. And it's kind of exactly what we talked about last week, which is a perfect segue into our first segment, which, we like to kick the show off with college football. So we're going to go ahead and start it off with the Michigan Northwestern game. Um, exactly what I feel like we said was going to happen ended up happening. It was a tough game. Michigan almost lost. Bryce Underwood did not play well. Two interceptions. I mean, obviously, excuse me. I am a little sick here, so bear with me. I don't know if you guys can tell by my voice, but it's been a rough week. I had to take Monday and Tuesday off of work, so I don't usually take days off of work like that. So that's how you know I'm pretty sick. With that being said, though, Bryce Underwood, I always want to say Bryce Young for some reason. I don't know why. But Bryce Underwood, 21 for
'Cause he's a better
32.
quarterback.
Good point. Good point. Um, 21 for 32, 280 yards and two interceptions, no touchdowns. Um, Not great. Obviously, his yardage was up a little bit from what we've seen this season. However, 189 of those yards were to one player. Um, Andrew Marsh had 12 catches for 189 yards. So that is literally, I want to say, about a 40% catch reception share or whatever you want to call it. Or no, that's more than actually that's like a 60%. 12 of 21 is kind of nuts. Andrew Marsh caught 12 of 20 of Bryce's 21 completions for 189 of 280 of his yards. So realistically, he had let's see, what, nine.
You said 12 of 21?
Yeah, so he had nine.
57%.
Oh my gosh. So he had what is it? Nine completions for about 101 yards, or not even that, 90 yards to the rest of the team. Not great, boys. Not great. Obviously, Andrew Marsh had a great game, which we're not mad about that. But when one guy almost has 200 receiving yards, you'd like your quarterback to have a little bit more statistically. However, Jordan Marshall, the other Marsh, 19 carries, 142 yards, and two touchdowns. So he's proven himself these last few weeks. He is a dog, certified dog. And once again, I'm going to pat myself on the back because I called it coming into the season. I said, this is a better running back room than what we had when we won the Natty. And I think it's clear. I think it's obvious. I mean, obviously, Justice Haynes is down right now, which sucks. But when he was healthy, he was playing awesome.
Yeah,
So,
when he was healthy, in my opinion, he was the best running back in college football.
which I don't know if many people would necessarily argue at this point right now. But with that being said, obviously it was an ugly game for Michigan, and kind of that's what we expected. I don't know if that's what you guys expected necessarily, but that's kind of what I saw going on. Unfortunately, I reading up on Northwestern, I was just like, yeah, I see this team giving us some fits, just with how they play, and their defense is pretty damn good, as you can see. Um, Coming into the game, that was what I was worried about. But we did win. So it's it's not a loss, but it's like one of those moral victories. It's kind of like a moral loss. It's like you beat them, but it doesn't feel that great. And I feel like Michigan's had quite a few of those this season. So, with that being said, what are your thoughts on Northwestern Michigan before we move on?
Kind of like you said and we said last week. It was a lot closer game than it really should have been. If you just think in the terms of Michigan versus Northwestern, although we both said it should be closer than the spread was making it. I think it was a double-digit spread, and we both said I think it's safe to cover. Um, and it really, to be honest, I feel like we should have lost. We being Michigan. Like watching that game, I honestly thought we were gonna lose. Our kicker, whose name is escaping me right now, he missed two kicks, and then he was coming out to try to hit the game-winning field goal after he's already missed two, and I'm just like, what are we doing? It should not come down to a last-second field goal when you're a 10-point favorite. Bryce Underwood started the game okay. I think he was something like 8 for his first 10, if I'm not mistaken. And then
If
just like
that's the truth and he ended what he ended, holy shit.
it was something along maybe 7 of 10. It was something along
Right.
those lines, and I'm just like, okay, like maybe he finally figured this out. And then as the game progressed, he did not. um, and like I said, I had a lot of faith in him, and he just unfortunately keeps proving me wrong week after week. Um, that being said, I'm still not giving up on him, but that weekly progress I was expecting from an 18-year-old is not happening. So hopefully it happens in the off season or whatever else. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention is, for reference, talking about Justice Haynes, who obviously has been hurt. He is currently, as we sit here today, 27th in rushing yards for the NCAA. He got hurt 4 games ago. So he is
Jesus.
still 27th, even though he has played 7 games, and there's people on this list that have played 11. In fact, Jordan Marshall, the other Michigan running back, is now 25th in college football, just passing Justice Hayes this past week. So, um, to his credit, Marshall has played in 3 more games, though. Obviously, when they were healthy, Hayden's got a bigger share, kind of like a Gibbs Montgomery, but he's been the bell cow for at least 4 games now. So, yeah, just to put it that way, also, um, we have 2 individual running backs, both in the top 30 total in rushing, and that's all of college. That includes a couple quarterbacks on this list. So, I do think Hayes is a bit bigger loss than some people are saying. I know some people, don't get me wrong, because we have Marshall, so it's kind of glossed over a little bit because we have an A plus quality backup. But they were both better, in my opinion, when they could lean on each other. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention in terms of the Northwestern game is the lack of, I would say, protection on the offensive line. Like it wasn't god awful, but it needs to improve. Like Michigan's kind of known for their O line,
Mhm.
and you really can't say that about this year at all.
Well,
So
it's funny you say that because they were just nominated for the offensive line award, and everybody I saw that was talking about it was like, "How? How
yeah,
is this just based
I,
off of like our name alone?"
yes,
Because
yes. Like I would put any ounce of journalism I have in that. That is just a out of respect nomination. Because normally we won it. I want to say 4 years ago and 3 years ago. I know we won it back to back years within the last 3 4 years, but it's not there this year. I know we had a couple injuries. We had I'm spacing on his name right now, but we had a elite 5-star left tackle that got hurt in training camp, tore his ACL, so unfortunately he missed the entire season. Hopefully with him coming back next year, ready to go, things will look better. But that's a conversation for the off season and whatnot. So with that, I'll just send it back to you.
so with that being said, we will now move on to the upcoming game for Michigan against Maryland. You know, it's one of those games that coming into it, I think it's similar to Northwestern for different reasons though. I think coming into this game, a lot of people are kind of expecting us to win by quite a lot. Um, I mean, Michigan is what, 13, 14 point favorites. So we're expected to win and win big. I do think that Maryland, though, has the talent to keep this close, specifically at quarterback. I mean, we all know their quarterback is an absolute
Tank.
dog. Yeah, the dude is just a beast. Excuse me. But with that being said, I do believe Michigan should get the job done here. It shouldn't be as close as Northwestern, simply because I do think Northwestern's defense is really what caused us the issues. At least, obviously the turnovers and things like that. However, the run offense for Maryland is not that great, really. Uh, sorry. their run offense is not that great really in terms of like their running back is just not that awesome. I mean, their quarterback can run the ball pretty well, which is more what I'm worried about, honestly, than their run game as a whole. But I do think the offensive line that Maryland has, which is a pretty damn good one, is going to kind of make it hard for us to get to that quarterback. So that's kind of why I'm a little bit worried about their offense right now. They are the 62nd ranked passing offense, and I know we've said it before, and well, I'm sure we'll say it again when it comes to college. I know that doesn't sound that great, but when we're talking about a team that's 4-6, and is ranked at 62nd in the nation in passing. That's something I think that's worth noting because coming into this, we know that their quarterback's probably the best player and the guy that we have to worry about the most. Also, their defense is solid. Like, it's not going to be easy for us. They're 26th in sacks in the country, and they are second in interceptions in the country. They have, you ready to hear this? 5 players with multiple interceptions, and they have 2 with more than 4. Ball Hawks. So I think Bryce Underwood might have more interceptions than he did last week, unfortunately. Now, the sacks mixed with the interceptions worries me because, like you just mentioned, right, our offensive line has not been that great this year. And that could cause us a lot of issues against a team that is known for causing pressure and turnovers. I mean, it seems to me like they're working hand in hand. You know what I mean? Like, you're getting pressure and you're making turnovers from it. So that does not bode well, in my opinion. However, I do think this is a game where Michigan can and should and will rely on their run game, at least offensively, because, like we just got done talking about, Jordan Marshall is a dog. And I think that's how we're going to win this game. Um, with that being said, though, I do think it's going to be very close. Like I said, I think it's definitely going to be closer than what the spread says. But with that being said, what are your thoughts on this Maryland game?
Uh, it changed a little bit with that defensive note you had. I was aware of the sacks. I was not aware of the interceptions. So, yikes. Um, I feel like in terms of offense, because obviously, as you mentioned, I can envision a few, or at least a couple interceptions, or even just short field for Maryland's offense. Malik Washington, their quarterback, um, he can be a very, very game-changing player as a runner, but he has had a handful of games where he's been completely shut down as a runner. It's a kind of a boom or bust. For example, I'm just going to mention the last 2 games only. Against Illinois, he had 4 carries for 6 yards. Not a threat. Against Rutgers the week before that, 8 carries for 164 yards and a touchdown, averaging 20 yards per carry. So he
Jesus.
can be elite, or he can get shut down. In fact, I'll go 1 week after that, 3 carries, 1 yard. So he had 2 different games where he had single digit yards and then a 164 yard. And he has, looking back on the list, he has had other very good rushing games. So it's boom or bust for him there. And I can see just the way Michigan's playing. Um, Gotta have the profile sheet pulled up here, and seeing the 18 next to Michigan it baffles me. We are not a top 20 team. We're just
No.
not.
Mm-mm.
Like I love Michigan, but I'm fair in my
It's
opinion. Like
it's crazy because every like Michigan fan that I am friends with, because rational people, um, they all say the same thing. Everybody is like, why the hell are we even ranked right now, let alone at 18? Like, maybe I could see like 23, like barely squeaking in there right now, but I just don't get it.
it's like I was talking to my wife the other day, and I mentioned that I don't think we should be ranked 18th. And outside of Michigan, she doesn't watch college football. And she's like, "Well, do you think there's 17 teams better than Michigan?" And I'm like, "I think I can name 25." like, like I love Michigan. I mean, obviously, I wish the best for us, but just watching watching that Northwestern game when we barely escaped from an unranked team, like we're not playing like the Michigan that we normally are. So
Mhm.
it's with this trend continuing, I feel like we will struggle against Maryland. I do think we win, but I don't think we cover the spread. I think this is going to be, like you mentioned at the start, a very similar game to Northwestern.
Yeah, and with that being said, my score prediction for this game is going to be very similar to Northwestern. I think it's going to be something like 27-21 or 27-24, something in that range. We'll probably win by about 5 points is what I would guess. So I do not think we're going to cover the spread. And I also think Maryland is going to scare us throughout this game. I think it's going to be one of those where they might lead for a little bit. So buckle up, Michigan fans. What is your score prediction?
I'm going to go low just because outside of the run game, which I think Maryland can stack the box and hopefully stop, because I don't trust at this point in time Underwood to, um, beat man coverage on the outside. I see this being a low-scoring game, as you mentioned with the sacks and whatnot. Plus, Maryland doesn't have the greatest offense um, outside of Malik Washington, but as you mentioned, he has his ups and downs. I'm going to go 17-14 Michigan. I think this is going to be a lower scoring game.
Yeah, that's valid. Honestly, my first thought was 17-13, but I was like, I think they'll score a little bit more just simply because I think Maryland will score more on us. So, with that being said, though, moving on to Michigan State to wrap up our college football conversation. Um, Last week against Penn State, I know I said going into the game they had a real chance. I thought they had a real shot, and at halftime it looked like they did. It really did. They were only down by 4, and then came out and scoreless third quarter for both teams. And then Penn State dropped 2 in the fourth quarter and made it look like it was a blowout.
Yep.
And I know that like obviously no one's going to be happy with a 28-10 loss. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm trying to say here. But if you're a Michigan State fan and that's your 7th loss in a row, I don't think you feel that bad about it because going into halftime, you're like, you know what? We actually got a chance here. And that freshman quarterback kind of gave you some life, which I will say the freshman quarterback was not the reason. It was the running back. That dude absolutely carried. He had 79 yards, 6 carries, 79 yards, and a touchdown on the game. But he had a 57-yard touchdown run in the first quarter that kind of kicked it off for Michigan State offensively. And it seemed like that was about all they did because he was also their leading receiver with 8 receptions for 73 yards. And we just got done talking about Bryce Underwood, right? And having, most of his receptions being to Andrew Marsh. Now, the Michigan State quarterback only had 17 completions. So 8 of those were to his running back. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like I watched the entire game or anything like that, or that I paid super close attention to it. However, I can see the stat line and go, huh, that seems like he was checking it down an awful lot. And the fact that he only had 128 passing yards kind of shows me they weren't really pushing it offensively either way. So if I were a Michigan State fan, I'm asking, when will that happen? When will we take some freaking risks, man? Because what the hell is going on? 7 straight losses, 7, and you're not pushing it down the field. Just I don't get it. I personally don't get that, and
Yeah,
especially when
that's
you go ahead.
that's something I wanted to piggyback on, just because I did not watch the whole game, but I did watch the fourth quarter, so I got to see all the blowout portion of it. Which, like as you mentioned, they didn't score anything in the third, so going into the fourth quarter, Michigan State was only down 4.
Hmm.
So yeah, 4. Um, so it was a close game in for the most part. Penn State obviously pulled away at the end. But the one thing I that baffles me is I don't think Michigan State has obviously top tier talent, but Nick Marsh is a very good weapon, and he only had 2 receptions for 5 yards. So I don't see the amount of targets on the stat sheet I pulled up, but you need to target him, like
Hmm.
force feed him, do whatever you got to do. Like you were able to get 3 receptions by 2 different receivers, 8 receptions by your running back. Like you need to get Nick Marsh the ball. And to me, that is, and as you said, kind of it doesn't have to be downfield, but he is a downfield kind of guy, so it could
Mhm.
be. Like, just kind of force feed your best player. That's something that you can't do in the pros, like the Lions or, in the NFL, because they're just better. But in college, you can absolutely just lean on that one guy and just constantly give him the ball. And they haven't done that, and at this point, why not just try?
Yeah, it's like the season is completely over at this point, and if I'm Jonathan Smith, I'm thinking my career in Michigan State's probably over after the season too. Bro, fuck it, we ball, baby. Go out there and do something. Show another college why they should hire you. Because right now, I feel like you're kind of showing everybody why they shouldn't. You know what I mean? It's like, what are we doing here? I guess is my question. With that being said, though, obviously Michigan State took the L by what 18 points, 28-10. I do think it's going to be a similar game against Iowa, except I don't think Michigan State is going to have it close, really at any point. And here's why. Okay, Iowa right now is favored by what 16 and a half. Okay, 17 points basically.
Yep.
Um, my thing is Iowa has a top 10 defense.
Yeah.
And Michigan State's offense has been bad. And Michigan State usually has a good defense that can at least keep them in games. They don't anymore. They have not. This year their defense has been bad. So while Iowa's offense obviously is not scary, like, oh my God, I'm not worried that they're going to come in and drop 60 on Michigan State or anything like that. Iowa's defense scares me to the point where I don't think Michigan State's offense is going to do much of anything, and I see some turnovers coming too. Um, Personally, I don't know if they cover 16 points, but I think it's going to be about a 10 to 14 point game, if you ask me. Um, Also, I like we just got done talking about, if Michigan State doesn't try to do, or I'm sorry, not if they don't try to take many risks, this game could get ugly fast because I see it as Michigan State's probably not really going to be able to stop Iowa's offense. I think Iowa's going to probably, ground and pound smash it through the Michigan State defense. So I think they're going to pretty much do whatever they want on offense. It's going to come down to if Michigan State can put up points, and I don't think they're going to. With that said, my prediction is 31-10.
All right. I do agree. I do think this is not going to be a close game. I think Iowa is going to, um, in my opinion, this might be wrapped up by the end of the first quarter. As you mentioned, Iowa, year after year after year, they always have a good defense. Thanks for Jack Campbell, by the way. They always have a good defense, and normally they have next to no offense. It kind of is the college version of like the 2000 Ravens, so to speak. Um, and I wanted to look up their offense this year because I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna pretend like I've watched Iowa football this year. I've seen a few highlights, but so they are 10th out of 18 in the Big Ten in points scored this year. And sadly, this is also how I just realized that they have more points scored on the year than Michigan. So it's only by 10, but it is still more, and they have allowed far less. In fact, their defense, I believe, is third in the Big Ten. Yeah, third in the Big Ten. They've only allowed 149 points all season. So, I mean, that's 10 games. So they're averaging 15 points a game allowed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is impressive. Um, I don't trust their offense enough to think they could. I guess they could have a defensive score. Now that I'm thinking, just thinking out loud. Um, I see this game being like 17-3 Iowa. Like I don't see Iowa putting up a ton of points, but I also just don't see Michigan State scoring. So I'll lean towards a lower scoring game. I'll say like 17-3.
Okay. I I could see that honestly with how Iowa's defense plays. So that's not crazy. But with that being said, that will wrap up our college conversation. Now, moving on to the real conversation at hand right now. The Detroit Lions, okay? We are coming off of a big loss against Philadelphia. Before we get into my thoughts on why we lost and, this, that, and the other thing, let's just take a look at what I said the keys would be coming into the game. Okay? Have to stop the run. They will probably attack us deep with all of our DB injuries. Offense has to sustain drives to keep it out of Philly's hands. We have to protect Goff well. Philly has a ton of talent on defense. We need big plays. It will be a very tough, physical, close game, and we have to play smart to win. Okay. With that being said, we didn't do anything other than on defense, unfortunately. Our offense was pretty rough all around, outside of a couple big plays by J-Mo and Jameer. Now, I feel like this was one of those games where we came into it like this is the biggest game of the season. We're without our starting DBs. It's probably going to be somewhat of a shootout. Lions offense is super high powered, and Eagles are probably going to finally push it deep for once with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. And we were wrong. We were so wrong. And a lot of this happens to be because of what the Eagles decided to do coming into this game, which I don't understand. And I saw a lot of Eagles fans irritated by this. The Eagles used heavy personnel more against the Lions than they did any other team this year. Which might make sense to you if you're thinking, oh, they want to run the ball. That seems obvious. Jalen Hurts is a running quarterback. Saquon Barkley is a running back, obviously. However, if I told you the Lions are without Kirby Joseph, Terrion Arnold, DJ Reed, what would you do if you have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith? I'm going to air that bitch out. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go four wide, and I'm going to air that bitch out. So, with that being said, a lot of Philly fans were upset at that, and they still won. Okay? So, Lions fans, think about that. We lost by 7, and I know a lot of people are like, well, we only lost by 7. Such an ugly offensive game. If the Eagles, and I'm not going to go in and talk hypotheticals necessarily, but if the Eagles decided to air it out, there's a chance that they put up a decent amount more points. Now, there's reasons that they didn't, I'm sure. The Lions defense did a great job nonetheless, regardless of what they could have done, quote unquote. So none of that really matters outside of the fact that if we're talking moral victories, we really can't because we had none in this game.
Not this week.
No, none at all. With that being said, though, my biggest complaint, and I have an article coming out about this probably tomorrow. My biggest complaint was the mismanagement in general. This was, in my opinion, the worst managed game from the Detroit Lions since Dan Campbell has been head coach. Call me crazy.
Ooh.
Call me crazy, bro. Listen. So
it's up there for sure, but
look, I started watching or writing this article like this morning, right? And as I'm rewatching the game film, I'm like, what were we doing here? What were we doing here? Why did that happen? Why? Like, I'm just like, why? Now, a lot of it, obviously, isn't necessarily like, how do I say this? It isn't like, oh, the specific, clock management, which we had an issue with at the end of the half, obviously, as we all know. Which, let me just get into that first since we're currently talking about it. That pissed me off. I'm sorry, but the fact that the Eagles were in the red zone with 2 minutes left, we had all 3 timeouts. We didn't use a single timeout. Get the ball back with 16 seconds, and we fucking kneel the ball. By the way, this is a game where Dan Campbell went for it on 4th down multiple times where we did not need to and probably shouldn't have. That is why I call this the worst managed game in Dan Campbell's Lions career. Okay? Simply because, think about it. Coming into this, it pisses me off thinking about it. Coming into this game, we both sat here and said, which was realistic, the Lions offense should play well as long as we protect Goff, right? Obviously. And the defense is going to be the issue here. This was a very winnable game. This was not a game that
yeah.
we definitely should have lost. Nothing like that. My issue is, damn, this sickness has been whooping my ass, guys. My biggest issue with the management is we ran it 4 times in a row on fourth down. Or I'm sorry, on what was it, our fourth drive? We ran the same play 4 times in a row. In a row. We're talking high school shit. That's high school shit, guys.
They wouldn't have expected a 4th time, would they?
Well, and it blows my mind because it's like, and I get it, Dan. Look, I'm not sitting here trying to talk shit about Dan Campbell. I love Dan Campbell. I still think he's a great head coach. But watching that game, when I watched it the first time, I didn't really think of it this way. I was upset at the halftime thing because why weren't you aggressive to go get points? You know, that doesn't make sense to me when you're playing a team like the Eagles. Yeah, I get it. You get the ball back. Exactly, motherfucker. That's why you try to go get points, because you know you're getting the ball back. This is coaching 101, people. I'm like genuinely so flabbergasted by that decision because it just doesn't make sense to me. You have one of the top offenses in the league. Okay, I don't give a shit what defense you're going up against. You have one of the top offenses in the league with 2 players on it that if they catch the fucking ball, they can score in one play, which we saw later in the game. We had a 3-play, 75-yard fucking drive in 50 seconds. We could have done that to close the half. But instead, Dan Campbell sat on his fucking hands, which, again, I love Dan Campbell. He sat on his fucking hands and said, we're not going to be aggressive. But then later in the game, he goes, oh, it's 4th and fucking 8 from the Philly 32. We're not going to kick it. We're going to go for it. What kind of dumb shit? Like, oh my God, what is going on here, man? Like, it blows my mind. And genuinely, I did not notice this on the first watch. But the second time around, I'm sitting here scratching my fucking head over and over and over again because it just doesn't make sense. The 4 runs in a row, by the way, I'm going to add some context to that, okay? It wasn't the exact same play from the exact same formation, at least. At least they didn't do that, right? However, first play, I think they were in twins, which is 2 receivers on each side, for people that don't know. J-Mo motions across the formation fully. They snap the ball, hand it off to Jahmyr Gibbs. I think they got like 6 to 8 yards, something like that on the first play. Second play, they're in shotgun. Snaps the ball, hands it off up the gut to Jahmyr Gibbs. No yards. Third play, under center again. We motion twins again. We motion Amon-Ra from right to left, except we snap it before he gets all the way across the formation. So it's like they call it a C-gap or a D-gap insert, depending on where he goes. Up the middle with Jahmyr Gibbs. No yards. And now, we're talking it's 4th and inches, okay? And actually, I can look at the exact, 4th and inches. We run the same play. Up the middle, on 4th down, to Jahmyr Gibbs. No yards. We turned it over. So with all that being said, my main issue with it is we were aggressive when we shouldn't have been, and we were not aggressive enough when we should have been. That's terrible. That's bad. There's really no other way to say it. Unfortunately, as someone who loves Dan Campbell, I think that was genuinely the worst mismanaged game from him I've seen in his career. And then on top of that, we have stuff like J-Mo fucking hugging the damn upright and giving us a 15-yard penalty, and then we missed the PAT. By the way, guys, James, how many points did we lose by?
7.
7. So if you take the field goal we should have got on, what was it? Let's see.
Which one?
Exactly. If you take, I think it was 4th and 6 or 4th and 5, something around there, where we went for it on the Philly 32, which is a makeable kick, by the way. That's a 49-yard kick, well within Bates' career distance. Pretty makeable kick, if you ask me. Now, if it's 4th and 1, okay, maybe I get going for it there, but 4th and medium or pretty long and we're going for it. Don't get that. Then the other time that we went for it, it was like on the 3 yard line. I think we all can remember that where Brock Wright was wide open and Goff missed him, which a lot of people are pissed about. I'm not that mad about it because guess what? He had fucking Jalen Phillips in his face immediately. It's kind of hard to see what's in front of you when you got a 6'6" motherfucker standing there like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I get going for that one, but if you add up the 3 points from that first field goal, 3 points from that second field goal, and the point from the JMO 15-yard penalty. Hey guys, how many points is that?
7?
Oh my god! You see what? And it's like, what the fuck, man? And that blows my mind because if you look back at the Niners game 2 years ago in the NFC Championship, it was the same thing. Same thing. Just take the fucking
That was
points,
the
bro.
game that instantly came to my head when you mentioned this being Dan Campbell's worst coach game
Which
or
that makes sense if that's
mismanaged.
number one because that's such a big game and such a big loss. But like, I don't think it was the mismanagement that lost us that game. It just didn't help. Whereas I truly
Correct. Fair.
believe that this game against the Eagles, the mismanagement lost us the game, bro. Like, obviously, okay, and we're gonna talk about Goff and all those things too. Obviously, the O line was bad. We know that. Obviously, Goff was bad. We know that. However, the play calling, like I said, some decisions going for it at times when you probably shouldn't have, not going to get points at the end of half. That's a bigger loss to me because if you ask me, if I'm Jared Goff and I'm not playing that well, which we'll talk about that in a second, but oh my God. If I'm Jared Goff and I'm not playing that well, and then and then Dan Campbell goes, "No, we'll take it at half." I'm sitting here going, "Oh my God, I suck." Like, that's what you're telling your quarterback. You suck. We do not even trust you to go out here and not turn the fucking ball over. Because that's what Dan Campbell's thinking. He's going, all right, should we be aggressive and try to go for points? Maybe, probably not, because their defense has been so good against us today that we might just turn that bitch over and they could score again. That's the only reason you don't go for points there, folks. That's it. That's the list. There's no other reason. Because coaching 101, like I just said, take the timeouts under if they have the ball inside the 20 with at least a minute left, you take the timeouts. You just do it. With that being said, I will pass it back to you for your thoughts on the mismanagement of the game, and then we can talk about Goff and all those things in a second. Oh, you're muted, I think. Oh, you're good now.
Am I good?
Yep.
Okay. Um, where to start? Just because my biggest issue, my two big issues were, and it's been my biggest issue with Dan Campbell since he's been here. I have come around because I will say, at the early stages of his coaching career, I was one of the fire Dan Campbell guys. When he went 3-13 and then started the next year 1-6, I'm like, this clearly just isn't working. Now, obviously, he turned it around. He won me and many people over. But this was one of the issues he had back then that I was harping on is aggressive play calling and aggressive decision making is okay at times. You just got to take the point sometimes. And I know he's a smart guy. I'm not going to go with the whole meathead narrative and all that BS. But sometimes I feel like people, anyone, it happens to be Dan Campbell in this situation, but it could happen to any coach, is obsessed with the idea of, hey, like obviously seven's more than three, let's just keep going for it. The threes add up. They always add up. At the end of the 60-minute game, the team with the most points wins. So if you can get three on a possession, get your three. You can get the rest of it if you're down seven and you have let's say you're on the 20, 4th and 5, so it's medium. Just take the three. I know you need that seven, but you have time left in this scenario. And I know a lot of people were talking about the wind. I saw the pregame videos where the kicks by both kickers were going all over the damn place. It was a very strong wind. However, because that can also play a role in the passing game, but Later in the game, in the fourth quarter, Bates made a 54-yard field goal. So he didn't have a problem with the win from 54, but you didn't want to send him out from 49? It doesn't make sense to me. And also, like the missed field goal, or I'm sorry, the missed extra point. Yeah, JMO needs to not do a needless penalty, but at the same time, Bates still needs to make that kick.
Yeah, but
Like,
like, let's be realistic here, okay? I kind of I'm gonna give Jake Bates the benefit of the doubt because the weather was shit. Okay, it was
it
terrible weather. It
was.
was windy. It was rainy. Look, and I'm not saying this is what you're doing, so don't take offense to me to this when I say
Go ahead.
this. I am so fucking sick and tired of people patting JMO's back, dude. He is a grown ass fucking man. That was dumb as fuck. I'm sorry. That was fucking idiotic, bro. And I'm so sick and tired of everybody on Twitter being like, oh, it's just a 15-yard penalty. Exactly. It's a fucking 15-yard penalty, bro. Grow up, wake up, get your shit together, JMO. I am so sick of this shit. Getting fucking suspended, getting fined, getting this, getting that. Figure your shit out, my boy, because you're fast. We get it. But god damn, bro, you fuck up constantly. Like, that's something I don't understand is that I feel like everybody, Lions fans obviously specifically, baby him for some reason. They baby him like he's a fucking teenager still. He's a grown ass man. Okay, you see what I'm saying? Like, he knows what he's doing, and people say he didn't understand the penalty or whatever, but it's like,
Oh
dude,
no, that's cap.
yeah,
That's
it's like, come on,
even as JMO being my favorite player, that's BS. No.
yeah,
Um, and to put it also in perspective, because I do like to look at both sides of the coin. JMO does need to grow up. It was a pointless and stupid penalty. It wasn't even a
hmm
good celebration, to be honest. But I
like if you're
still
gonna do
think
that, dunk that bitch, dude. Actually, do the
exactly,
thing. Do the thing
exactly.
they don't want you to do.
I'm like he got penalized for really something stupid.
hmm
And I'm not sheltering him from that. I do think he gets some hate more than he should, but I also
Sure.
understand. Yes, he had the gambling suspension. Um, I hate talking
Which
about the gun
that,
thing
yeah.
because that turned out to be
Oh, yeah.
nothing.
Yeah. The
But
gambling thing, I'm less worried about the gambling thing than anything. That was just like a bullshit wording of their rule, so I'm not that worried about
correct.
it. But you
I
know what
say,
I'm
but I'm
saying.
like for the off the field stuff, like the gun thing ended up being, which is bullshit in hindsight because he got suspended 2 games even though nothing happened legally. But yes, he does have growing up to do. And the one thing that kind of pissed me off more is even after the game watching Dallas because George Pickens did
I
the
was just
celebration
gonna say
too.
that. That's funny as shit.
And I don't want to say make fun of, but I have talked numerous times about George Pickens having maturity issues.
hmm
And JMO did, granted, he did it first or whatever, but there were three total players that did it. I can't remember who was the other one. But I'm just like, that's not a good group of people to be in. So, um, that
Which
also, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. It was kind of an aside with the George Pickens thing.
Mhm.
Something I found out about him, I can't remember who it was. I think it was John Ledyard, but I can't remember exactly. Someone on Twitter that's like works with the Steelers closely. They were talking about George Pickens before he got traded and all that situation. And I was like, is George Pickens like what everybody talks about? Like he seemed like people talk about him like he's some fucking jackass. You know what I'm saying? Like he just does dumb shit all the time. And the guy responded and was like, no, it's not that he's a jackass. It's just that he is so unaware of everything all the time. And I'm like, now that I think about it, that kind of might be JMO in the same way, where he's just like super unaware of shit. Like, he was talking about how, oh, it was right after DK got traded. That's what it was. DK got traded, and I asked him, do you think Pickens is pissed? He asked for a trade. The dude responded with, I don't even think Pickens knows who DK Metcalf is, if I'm being honest. And I was like, you know what? That might make a lot of sense for George Pickens there, but anyway.
And but yeah, like JMO doesn't, like I said, he needs to do better. But I expect because even what is where was that extra point kicked from? How long was the extra
48
point for?
yards, I think, is what it was.
Okay, he made a 50. Where is it? 54. He made a 54. So
I
like
know, but
it's not a gimme,
I
and it
don't think we
shouldn't
can
be that far
necessarily
back.
like we can't like sit here and go, well, he made a 54 in different conditions in a different
I
stadium.
just think it's
Like,
two wrongs, not just like instead of saying And like I said, I'm not clearing JMO
Let
either.
me ask you this. Let me ask you this, James.
Go for it.
If it's 3rd and 10, okay, and you snap the ball and, blah, 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 Jared Goff rolls out and throws it away, there's a holding penalty. Who's at fault? Like, who made the bigger mistake there, you think?
Without watching the play, it's hard to say, in my
It doesn't
opinion.
matter because at the end of the day, the guy who held costed you 10 yards extra.
Yeah.
You're already 3rd and 10, bro. You get what I'm saying? It's like now it's 3rd and 20 or 4th and 10, depending because he threw it away. But that's what I'm saying. And that's why I use that analogy because obviously Goff throwing it away on 3rd and 10 is very dumb. But at the same time, it's like the holding penalty is really what kills you in that moment because now you're backed way up. So I just feel if you look at it the same way with that, it's like the penalty is why he missed. If
It
it,
definitely played a factor. Like, I won't say it didn't.
I mean, 15 yards is a lot, bro. That's
It
a
is.
lot.
And over a stupid celebration that is obviously optional. It's not the first
Right.
time he's been flagged for a celebration either. So,
Which the other ones, it's like, that's the thing. I'm very lenient with JMO too, to where it's like, I sometimes feel like he gets hated for shit he shouldn't. But at the same time, I go on Twitter after this game and I see a lot of people just like, oh, that shouldn't be a rule anyway. Well, it is. So, got to
yeah,
live with it. It's
correct.
like, it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the middle of that because, like I said, I do think he gets a lot of unnecessary hate
Hmm.
from some people, but at the same time, some of it is warranted. So, I mean, I get it.
Yeah, for sure. And before we take too long talking about JMO, there was just one more thing I wanted to talk about when it came to the mismanagement, which I left out earlier. So they had the 4 runs in a row to JMO up, or I'm sorry, Jameer Gibbs up the middle. The next drive, they come out. It's 4th and 1. We go to punt it on our own 43, and we fucking fake punt it and snap it to Grant Stewart of all people to run it where? Hey guys, can you guess where we wanted to run it? Up the middle. It's crazy. Literally. In back-to-back drives, you ready for this? Gibbs up the middle. Gibbs up the middle. Gibbs up the middle. Gibbs up the middle. Next drive. Monty up the middle. Oh, then we pass it. Pass it again, but Goff misses St. Brown badly. Then it's 4th and 1, and we run it up the middle with our linebacker on a fake punt. I'm sorry.
Our punt and kick or our kick returner.
I don't give a damn. There's a reason that we took him off kick return, though. I don't know if you remember
There
that.
is.
Because I think he had like 4 fumbles in the preseason or some shit like that. But anyway, point being, that just adds to it because it's like, dude, you're being aggressive on 4th and 8 or 4th and 7, whatever it was, from the 32-yard line where you should have kicked a field goal. You're being aggressive from the 3-yard line, which that one makes a little bit more sense. I'll give him that. Then you're not aggressive to end the half. And then you're aggressive, but in a dumbass way where it's like, dude, if you're going to go for it, just have your offense out there. It's 4th and 1. Like, what are we talking about? So that kind of is my point with the mismanagement. Those are all things where I just go, holy shit, man, that was just rough.
Yeah. The one thing I wanted to mention, just while on the mismanagement, or slash on Campbell's, I was going to say behalf, but it's anti-Campbell, at least for this particular point, is when he took over the play calling last week against, oh shit, who do we steamroll?
Washington.
Washington. I'm like, I know we scored 44. Washington, our offense looked great. It was firing on every cylinder. And don't get me wrong, I realize Philly's defense is not Washington.
Hmm.
However, there wasn't shit working. And he did not mix it up enough. He did not call up, in my opinion, the right plays. And no, I don't know what the right plays would be, but every single thing he called was just not working all game long.
See, I don't know if I would take it that far with the play calling. I personally had issues with that one sequence, but in general, honestly, if you just to be honest, it was execution, man. Like Goff. I'm sorry, like when this article comes out, it's a long article, so be ready to read. But when this article comes out, I have so much of bad manage or just bad everything from this team. Like Goff, there was a play where it's 3rd and 2, I think, and he snaps the ball. The D line does a stunt on both sides where they just kind of switch like this. Goff, there's no pressure, by the way. Goff just sees this fucking stunt, throws it at fucking Brock Wright's feet. Why?
I do remember
Why?
that.
Why are we doing that? Or there's I want to say at least 4 throws from Goff to Amon-Ra that were just bad. Like just bad. Like and I won't necessarily go as far as to say Dan Campbell just had a terrible play calling game because like dudes are there. You just got to fucking hit him, dude. Like he's there. You just
Fair.
got to hit him. And like I think, but that's kind of why I think this was one of the worst games for the Lions, at least in the last 2 years as a whole. Obviously, the defense played great, don't get me wrong, but like
Yeah.
offensively and management wise, just simply like Amon-Ra was off, Goff was off. Dude, we ran for Gibbs had 39 rushing yards and David Montgomery had 27 on what, 18 carries? 18 total carries in the game. Jared Goff, on the other hand, 14 for 37, 255 yards and a touchdown with an interception, the worst completion percentage of his career. Terrible, all around.
Oh, yeah. Other than Gibbs, mostly receiving Gibbs, other
Right.
than Gibbs and JMO, no one on offense, including linemen. Even Sewell kind of got pushed around a
Mm-hmm.
little bit, unfortunately,
Mm-hmm.
which is obviously uncommon. But when we're dissecting game by game, that's what happened this game.
Mm-hmm.
Other than Gibbs and JMO, just kind of throw the whole thing in the trash for this week. The only thing I'll say, and I'm not trying to make excuses, but I am just trying to once again look at all the scenarios. Is QBR wise, uh, Goff and Hertz had approximately the same. They both had 66s. Goff had 66.57, Hertz had 66.88, with only a 50% completion percentage, and Hertz had 135 passing yards to Goff's 255. So neither team could really throw the ball. I don't know if the wind played a factor or what, but obviously Goff was leading. I believe he was leading the league in completion percentage coming into this game, and he only had 38% this game. So I mean, something was clearly off. I know a lot of people make the glove excuse, but if you look at his stats with the gloves, he's had good games with the gloves on before, so I'm not buying that. But um, yeah, other than those two guys, offensively we were atrocious. But then defensively, I don't know if we're going to bring that up separately, but defensively, maybe the best game of the year in my opinion.
Yeah, very
Like,
well could be.
like we held them, like I said, under 150 passing yards. I know Hurts isn't the greatest thrower, but still, anyone under 150, he's an NFL quarterback and a Super Bowl MVP, under 150 passing yards. Saquon, 90 yards total between rush. That's 27 touches between receptions and rushing. 27 touches, 90 yards. If you told me that before the game, I'd take that all day. Devontae Smith, 1 catch, 8 yards. Even AJ Brown, he had 7 receptions, but for 49 yards. So
Hmm.
if AJ Brown's under 50 yards, Smith is under 10, and Barkley's under 100. If you told me that going into the game, I would think we won.
Yep. But we only scored 9 fucking points. That's the biggest problem there. Like and that in my opinion goes down to I mean, even look at our stats. Like Jameer was our leading receiver with 107 yards on 5 catches. Jamo was next with 88 yards on 4 catches. And then Amon-Ra had 2 catches for 42 yards with 12 targets. I mean, and like I said, there was at least 4 or 5 in that game where Goff just missed him. And if I'm being honest, it kind of reminds me of when Baker Mayfield played us. I don't know if you remember that, but
Yeah, he was off that game.
he was playing so well all year, and then he comes into our game and he's overthrowing everybody for some reason.
Yeah.
And it was just weird. Like it didn't make sense. That's what it felt like watching Goff on Sunday night, where it's just like, what is going on with this dude? Like throwing it behind Amon-Ra, so far behind him, he couldn't even touch the ball. Like that's insane. Thrown out in
Especially
front, throwing it below, like at his feet. It just makes no sense.
especially with St. Brown because those two have one of, if not the best connection in the league between any receiver or tight end
Hmm.
and quarterback. Like those two are always in lockstep. But
Yeah, and that's the
I don't
thing
know.
too. You know, with Laporta being out for as long as who knows, we don't know how long yet. That's going to be a pretty big issue for us. Which obviously the Lions are coming into this. They came into that game with a lot of injuries, specifically on the defensive side. Which, talking defense now, some positivity finally for the Lions. Defense was amazing. I mean,
Yep.
the Eagles really could not do much of anything, and I mean, even like Saquon had a decent game in terms of, he had 20 something carries for 86 yards. That's not a great game for Saquon, but also a couple of those came on like a couple good runs in the second half, which is obviously a big game changer. But like for the most part, we had them shut down. Um, like you said, if you read off those stats, and I would have been like, yeah, we won by probably 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I agree.
And no. No. And that's the problem. Like normally we would put up 30 points in a game like this, but we didn't. We put up 9. And look,
I
I'm
can't get
not
over 9, bro.
9
Like,
is just rough. It's like JJ McCarthy haunting us and Matthew
oh
Stafford as
my
well.
gosh. We scored 9. We scored JJ McCarthy.
His alter ego,
Oh
not
my.
JJ, his alter ego.
I like
Um,
how we watched him for like 3 years at Michigan, and that 9 shit never came up. I've never seen that before.
no.
But
Which who knows how real that even is, to be fair, because you know how stuff happens on Twitter.
that is
But
true.
point being, oh, where was I? Defensively, um, shoot, I totally lost my train of
Sorry,
thought with the
defensively
9.
we look good. We just scored. When I read off the stats, it
Oh
looked like
yeah,
we won by 2
scored
touchdowns.
9 points. Um, oh, this is what I was gonna say. This is the first time I've been worried all season. I went to the Packers game. I was like, damn, that wasn't great, but I wasn't worried. You know what I mean? I was like, it's week 1. We'll see what happens. We lost. Oh shit, I can't even remember who we lost to now.
This season we lost to Green Bay, Minnesota,
Okay, Minnesota. Yeah,
and
that was the other one.
Philly.
Yeah,
We have 3
Minnesota.
losses, right?
I think we have 4.
Yeah, that's right. We're 6-4. So it was Green Bay, Minnesota, Philly, and
Oh my god.
KC,
Oh
Chiefs.
yes. Okay, that makes sense. Okay,
Like, give me a second
so
here.
yeah, Kansas City makes a lot of sense. I do remember that now. I don't know how I spaced that, but anyway, point being, we have lost to some teams we shouldn't have lost to, which we wouldn't have done the last 2 years, outside of maybe Seattle 2 years ago, um, in the early part, or last year Tampa Bay kind of situation. Um, I was okay when it was early in the season, right? Because you're like, yeah, let's get the jitters out. We're trying to figure stuff out. And a lot of new stuff going on. But now, like you just said, we lost to Minnesota and got our ass kicked physically. We lost to Kansas City, and that was not a pretty game. We were pretty healthy that game, too. And then we lost this game to Philly, another ugly game. Now, do I think, is this me saying, guys, the sky's falling, the fucking Super Bowl window's closed? No, that's not what I'm
Yes.
getting at
Oh, my
here.
bad.
Oh, well, who knows? Maybe. Maybe you think, I don't know. We'll see.
No.
But point being that I don't think we're screwed, but I'm worried because, dude, we're out of the playoffs right now as things stand. Like, do I
We
think we're
are, but I'm. Go ahead. Go ahead.
you
I'll save my
look,
piece at my time.
you might not be worried, but
Not even 1%.
I'm simply worried because if we just lost to Minnesota at home, um, and we lost to Green Bay already, I am not going to sit here and say we're going to beat both of them the next time we play them. On
I
top of
think we
that,
do.
that's great. I'm glad
Oh,
you
I know.
think
I
so.
know.
And because I could see it. And that's the thing. I'm just not going to say we will win. And that's the thing. It's a toss up for me. Then we have Dallas as well, which is going to be a tough
Piece of
game.
cake.
Yeah, I know we killed them last year, but dude, their offense is firing on all cylinders right now. And I'll tell you what, I'm scared of their wide receivers. They have CeeDee Lamb and they have George Pickens. That's going to cause us some issues. And I haven't been that impressed by our pass rush the last few weeks on top of that. Obviously, this week we have the Giants, which we'll talk about. The game after that, we have the Packers on Thanksgiving. Game after that, we have Cowboys. Then we have the Rams. Then we have the Steelers. Then we have the Vikings. And we end it with the Bears, which the Bears are number one in our division right now. That game could be for the division at the end of the day. So, look, call me crazy, but I definitely think we could lose one, two, three. I think we could lose 5 of our next 6 games. Realistically, I genuinely do.
I see 2.
Now, and again, I don't think we're going to lose them. But like I just said, Cowboys, Rams, Packers,
Oh,
Vikings,
Rams are.
Bears,
I would
Steelers.
chalk Rams
Like,
up to a loss right now. Like that's
yeah,
the Rams look. Yeah.
and that's my point. Is that it's like who knows what the Bears are going to do because they don't have a hard schedule like we do, and that kind of scares me a little bit.
I'm
Just saying.
slightly confused. The Bears have a significantly harder schedule than we do remaining.
How's that?
They play us, they play Green Bay twice, they play San Francisco, and they play Philly.
I mean, San Francisco has not been that good this year, to be fair.
I think they're better than the Bears.
Mm,
I see the Bears losing at least 5 of the next 6. The only win for the
maybe.
Bears I see is Cleveland.
I mean, they play very similar teams, but they also have Cleveland,
Yeah,
which
Cleveland's the
is a
only win I
gimme.
see in that.
I think they beat the Steelers. I think they split with the Packers, and then I think they beat the Niners personally.
We'll see.
I just think we're undervaluing the Bears, man. If I'm being honest with you, I think
Well,
a
I
lot of
said they were
Lions
a
fans are
playoff
just
team at the start of the year. I thought the NFC North would have 3 playoff teams.
yeah.
Originally, I said Green Bay would be in last, but that was prior to the Micah Parsons trade. Um, but yeah, I still think it's possible to have 3 teams in, but I do think the Packers will sweep the Bears, and I do think we'll beat the Bears. I mean, we already beat them by 30.
I know,
Um,
but that was a long time ago, bro. A lot can happen in a few a month or a month and a half now.
no, it's unfortunately because, like I said, I think that's the most confident game I see on the schedule. I'm more
Yeah.
confident about that game than the Giants, to be honest with you. Um, yeah. Well, let me
Which
rephrase. If Dart plays, I will be more skeptical of the Giants. If we face Jameis, then no, I'll take that game being easier.
right.
Um, which unfortunately that's game time or my last update I saw said he could play, but it's only Wednesday, so they don't have a official update slash whatever. He was
Mhm.
limited in practice, but he was at least there.
Which, speaking of the Giants, that's a perfect segue into who the Lions are playing next, which obviously is the Giants. Like you just said, I do not think this is going to be a gimme. I know a lot of Lions fans are going into this game thinking, oh, it's going to be like how when we just lost to Minnesota, then we had that great game against Washington, then we lost to Philly, and we're going to have a great game against New York. No, we're probably not going to, if I'm being honest with you. And it's for all the same reasons that we didn't have a good game against Philly. Okay. And if anything, okay. I'm not saying New York's defense as a whole is better. However, if you just stack up their pass rushers, I do think the Giants are a little bit better in that aspect because
Yep.
they have Dexter Lawrence, who might be the best D tackle in the league. They have Brian Burns, who is the second in
I
sacks
think
right now
he's
behind
second.
Miles
Yeah.
Garrett. They have Kayvon Thibodeau, who has been a pretty good player. And then they have a couple other bodies that they can throw in there and use to rush the passer. So I'm a little worried just from that standpoint. Now, the Giants' offense does not worry me in the slightest. I don't even give a shit who their quarterback is, to be honest with you. Um, their their offense does not worry me. I am worried about our offense. However, this could be a big game for us simply because if the Lions can come out and like have a statement showing on offense, I personally would feel a lot better, and I know a lot of Lions fans would. However, I'm not sure that happens. Um, right now, um, the Giants' offense is middle of the pack. They're about 15th overall. They're 10th in rushing, back end in passing, which a lot of that is skewed because Russell Wilson was their starter for the first 4 games of the year. And then And like you just mentioned, Dart might not play, but if he doesn't, they still have Jameis Winston. And I know you said that means it's going to be easier, which, yes, is very true. He's not as good as Jackson Dart. However, it's not like it's Kyle Allen. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
Jameis Winston is a very viable backup quarterback that I think could cause us issues, especially because we're not prepared for him, really. Unless, they rule Jackson Dart out tomorrow, then we might have a practice where we can at practice with Jameis Winston being in there, quote unquote. But I think he offers a lot different stuff than Jackson Dart does. So, and obviously
Exactly.
Jackson offers a little bit more, I would say, but it's different. So Jameis could cause us some issues with that. However, I do think that we win this game. I do think the Lions. I know I just got done saying I'm worried. However, I do think the Lions get back on track against the Giants. The offense looks a lot better. I think as a whole, the team is just going to look a lot better. Obviously, the defense, I don't know how you could look that much better. But special teams, even, I feel like our special teams have really lacked this season,
I say I think they've been very poor. Yeah.
which kind of worries me as a team that's supposed to be Super Bowl caliber. Um, with that being said, though, my prediction for this game is Lions win 24-13. What are your thoughts?
As you mentioned, and I knew as you were saying it, we were lockstep in it. The Giants, nothing about the Giants worries me, offense or defense, with the exception of the D line. The Giants have a phenomenal D line, and we just watched our O line get bullied. And no, they have a different, I'll say a different style, if that makes sense, of D line because Philly's heavy in the middle with Carter and Davis. Don't get me wrong, Dexter Lawrence is at minimum a top five D tackle, but they don't have that co-anchor in the middle. They don't have like the Jalen Carter and Davis.
Hmm.
They are more of the outside with Burns and Thibodeau, and even I know he's had a lackluster season, but oh my God, I'm spacing on his name. Second overall pick. Um,
Thibodeau?
nope, from this year.
Oh,
He
Abdul
ended up
Carter.
Abdul Carter.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know he. I saw someone. I like I said, not like I watch Giants football, but I saw someone asking if he's already considered a bust, which I haven't watched him, but I just know from watching his college tape, there's no way, especially after this
Well,
short of time.
I can tell you
But
he is not a bust because I have watched a decent amount of him this year, and also
okay,
they've been playing this dude at linebacker, like at
okay, well, there's
middle
your issue.
linebacker.
There's your issue
So
then. Okay. Like I said, I'm like I just know the talent's there. I'm like there's no
yeah.
way. Also to
Which, to
call
be
someone a
fair,
bust.
they stopped doing that in like week 3 or 4. They probably do it every so often here, but he was playing a lot of linebacker snaps the first few weeks.
Okay. I'm like yeah, there's too much talent in there, especially and it's hard to call anybody a bust after 10 games. It's only been
Right.
10 games. But yeah, Brian Burns here, 13 sacks already on the season. He's only two behind Miles Garrett. There's only two pass rushers in the NFL with more than 10, and Garrett and Burns both have 13 or more.
Which, by the way, Miles Garrett has 2 games with 4 or more sacks. So the fact that Miles or
Interesting.
Brian
He
Burns,
he's Yeah, that means Garrett has 15 on the season. So if he has two games of four or more, that means half of them came in just two games.
yep, he had 4 or 5.
He
A
had a
couple,
five, I know that.
yeah, and then he had 4 against the Ravens this week.
Damn.
Yeah,
Uh, for what it's worth, since I have it in front of me, Hutch is 10th in the league with 7.5.
hmm which
Muhammad,
he's had that amount of sacks for a few games, by the way.
yes. Muhammad on the other side has six. That is tied with T.J. Watt and Max Crosby for 16th. So if you were to tell me the co-pilot on the other side of Hutch had the same amount of sacks as Max Crosby and T.J. Watt through 10 games, I'd be pretty excited. But
True.
that's still six. But hey, it is what it is. But yeah, like I am a little worried about that pass rush. But I'm not so afraid of it that I think it's going to swing the game.
hmm
Obviously, they'll probably get a couple three and outs. They'll probably have a timely sack that forces us to punt. But then, if they don't have Dart, because like you mentioned, Jameis Winston is a damn good backup, and as you said, he offers just different things than Jameis Winston does. Jameis Winston is more aggressive and I would say potentially reckless. He did
Hmm.
have that season with 30 interceptions. He's not as much of a runner as Dart is, and we have struggled against running quarterbacks, although we did beat Lamar Jackson. Um, so, like you said, it's just different. And I do think Dart would help them, but I don't think it would be a big enough help to swing this game. Even if they had Dart, I'd pick the Lions. Um,
Hmm.
but I do think that would make it obviously harder. With that being said, I think the Lions should win this one. I'll go 31-17 Lions. I think the Lions get back in the driver's seat, kind of not quite like the Washington game. It's not like oh we're mad now, and it's not a cupcake game. But I think they'll be extra motivated for what it's worth. I know they're wearing their all black uniforms, um, and also they don't. I just recalled slash remember that the Giants don't even have like neighbors or Scabadoo or so yeah. They're I mean
Scabadoo.
I don't know how Scarbadoo Scabadoo
Scabadoo. I don't know why that's so funny. It's Scataboo, but it's close. I mean,
Scadaboo.
you were
Okay.
there. You were there. I just thought it was funny. It
Like
sounds
I
like
remember watching that dude in college, and a lot of Lions fans were saying we should get him, and I'm like, don't get me wrong, he is the epitome of a Campbell guy, but I'm like, we
yeah.
already have Montgomery and Gibbs, and
And that dude's probably only going to play about 3 years with how he uses his freaking head.
well, maybe he needs to be a running back three then, or whatever. But yeah,
True.
just go
True.
into a brick wall. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the Giants game this week. And I know we're running long.
No worries. With that being said, now we'll move on to our last segment of the show, our weekly segment, our games of the week coming up. Um, and we actually have totally different games this week. I know the last few last few
Hey.
weeks they've been almost the same, which is fine because that's just how the schedule has gone, man. There's not that many good games out here. This week, on the other hand, there is quite a bit to pick from. Obviously, shoot. Obviously, the Lions really aren't going to be one because they play the Giants, you know. But with that being said, my first game, which we'll go back and forth here, my first game is Indianapolis at Kansas City for a multitude of reasons. I mean, big AFC matchup, you know. The Colts are the best team in the AFC this year, record wise. Um, I don't know if I would say that right now, but record wise, they are. Jonathan Taylor is definitely the best running back in the league this year, though. I can say that much for sure.
Yes.
But you have the Colts who are riding a high. They've been riding all season. You have the Chiefs kind of coming off a down. And this is one of those games where it's like, are we going to see the Chiefs keep going, keep riding that low? Or are they going to come in and beat the Colts? Because like I said, it is it is in Kansas City. So that gives the Chiefs a little bit of a leg up there. However, the Chiefs defense, their run defense, hasn't been amazing this year. So I could see Jonathan Taylor kind of tearing them up a little bit. But we could see, Ahmad Gardner possibly get burnt, or he could have a pick on Mahomes. We'll see. Maybe he'll be the difference maker in a game like this. So I think this is going to be a really good game for all the reasons that I mentioned. And I think, it's going to have a lot of playoff implications as well, specifically for the Chiefs. So that's my first game of the week. What's yours?
Well, my first game is Minnesota versus Green Bay, or Minnesota at Green Bay. Classic NFC North matchup. Um, this one mostly because I don't think, to be honest, the game itself will be more entertaining than Kansas City versus Indianapolis. But obviously, because it's a division game and this division's rather close, especially at the top,
Hmm.
the playoff implications are huge. We're getting somehow to the second half of the season, and the season's wrapping up. We only got six more games left, excuse me, and seven. Either way, six or seven. And especially division games matter so much. And if Minnesota can, because they are currently fourth, for those who don't know, in the division, if Minnesota can win this game, pending on how we do against the Giants and pending how the Bears do against Pittsburgh, there is a possibility of all four of these teams being within two games of each other after this weekend, with a handful of games to go. And obviously, we play the Vikings again, and the Bears and Packers play each other. So obviously, someone has to lose. unless the Packers tie again. But but yeah, like the division game, and if Green Bay does win, that kind of I don't quite want to say knocks the Vikings out, but barring a miracle comeback of the second half of the season, that does knock the Vikings out, and it's just going to be a three-horse race between the Lions, Packers, and Bears at that point.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely suspect that'll be a good game as well. My second game of the week, which I will be honest here, I wanted to pick the one that you picked, but I was like, I knew you were gonna pick that one, so I was like, I'll let him have the Tampa Bay Rams because simply because I feel like I've been getting a lot of the good ones the last few weeks, getting to them first. So with that being said, though, my second game of the week is excuse me, we have Philly at Dallas, which for the same reasons I pretty much that you just mentioned for the Packers Minnesota, like almost exactly. I mean, Philadelphia is coming off a big win against the Lions, as we all know. We just talked about it for 45 minutes or so. But they are coming off a big win against us, and then the Cowboys are kind of hot right now, I would say. Obviously they've had quite an up and down season. Right now, they're sitting at 4-5-1, but they are second in their division. Again, divisional matchup. If the Cowboys come in and win this game, they're sitting at 5-5-1, obviously with the tie. And that, I mean, you could roll that into the playoffs if you think about it. Now, similar to like what you said with Minnesota, if Dallas loses this game, they're pretty much all but out of the playoffs. And with how good their offense has been in making the trade for Quinn and Williams and all those things, look, man, I don't love Dallas, but I would like to see them make the playoffs just simply because their offense is a lot of fun. And I think if their defense is healthy and goes into the playoffs playing well, I think they could actually make some noise in the playoffs. So I would like to see them make it. But again, Philly's one of the best teams in the league, so this should be a really good matchup. And again, I could see this going similar to how when we just played them, but I could also see it going a lot different because Dallas has so much firepower in the pass game, which obviously I know we have JMO and Amon Ra, but their firepower is different. I'm sorry.
It is.
Like they have two guys that can make a 80-yard touchdown any play at any point in the game. Amon Ra is not really that type of guy.
No.
I love him. He's not that kind of playmaker. He's a different kind of playmaker. But with that being said, what is your second game of the week?
My second game is, let me see, who's the home team? Tampa Bay at the Rams. Tampa Bay is first in the NFC South. The Rams are first in the NFC West. They are just two great offensive teams, and I know the Bucks are cold. They're coming off a two-game losing streak. They started out 6-2, and the Rams are 8-2 right now on a five-game winning streak. The Rams right now, in my opinion, are the best team in football. Uh, Stafford, who I loved for years, I guess I'll say ignorantly said Goff was better than him at this point. I knew Stafford was better at the time of the trade, but I figured Father Time would catch up to Stafford as he didn't look as good as a Ram, statistically speaking. And then apparently he heard me and told me to shut up. Um, he has plenty left in the tank as he's playing his potential literal best football of his career. And Devontae Adams and Puka Nakua are just killing it. Williams, the running back's killing it. Young, the nice young defensive end, no pun intended, for the Rams, um, is, let me find it real quick. You're fourth in the league in sacks with 9. Um, like they got talent all up and down their D line, and it's almost awkward to say because I feel like for most teams, if they had the Rams D line, that would be like the focal point of conversations. How do you deal with this D line? How do we, chip them? Blah blah blah. But with the Rams, I feel like you got to stick with the offense between Puka and Devontae Adams and Stafford. They're just air raiding anyone and everyone. Um, so that's going to be a lot to handle. Obviously, um, yeah, they have 272 points put up this year. um, yeah, it's just a fun offense to watch. Um, it is borderline painful to watch because I wanted to obviously surpass them, and we did for a little bit, but it might have crossed back over. It might have been a switch because we knocked the Rams out of the playoffs 2 years ago, and I hope it doesn't reverse this year.
I mean, all I'm saying is if it does, Rams fans will never let us hear the end of it because a lot of Lions fans talk so much shit after we
I
beat
was one
them.
of them.
Which, look, I'm just going to keep it real. That's why I don't like to talk shit to nobody because guess what? I'm not out there playing the game. I'm not the one winning or losing. So, because then guess what? When you talk shit and your team loses, now you getting everybody on your ass. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
And it's
That's
like
why I own
I'm
it
good.
either way.
Right. And that's it. I that's the thing. I used to talk a lot of shit, which is funny because that was when the Lions sucked, which made no sense. And I think that was part of the problem was that I was talking shit about it, to for a team that sucked, and then we'd lose every time, and then it was like, well, this is no fun. This doesn't make sense,
I feel like a
you
Saints
know.
fan talking right now.
Literally. But with that being said, that is going to do it for this show. As always, we appreciate you guys for watching. If you're looking for some new gear, check out Fanatics. Link will be in the description. They always have really good stuff at a really good price. Also, if you're looking for tickets to a game or concert or event of any kind, hit up SeatGeek and use my code JSWEET, that is JSWEET, at checkout, and you will save. And last but not least, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Jace O Sweet. I am on a mission to see every single stadium in America, which there is 1,000 of them. So wish me luck, boys. That's going to take me a long time, but it means a lot of content throughout the years. So it's going to be a lot of fun. This weekend, I'm going to Toledo for some MACtion. So we're gonna that should be a lot of fun. And then my next video, I went to 3 games in 24 hours, 3 different sports too. So that's gonna be a lot of fun when that'll come out later this week. Check it out. Like I said, subscribe to my YouTube at JaceOSweet. You can find me at JaceOSweet. You can find James at Gullet_James, and you can find both of us at MIFB Network. A little bit of a slip up there. Throwback. No, but MIFB Network and MichiganFootballNetwork.com. As always, we appreciate you guys for watching, and we will see you next week.